All right. Good morning, everyone. Good morning. I hope you can hear me.
Fine, sir. Yes, sir.
All right. So, please, can somebody remind us where we stopped last time?
We said we should do more classwork about examples of array.
Okay, example of, that is JavaScript advanced data types, right? We have concluded on
Yes, sir.
objects. I think we started with objects, right?
Yes, we said
This
objects.
is Oyekos. Hope you are here. Let's confirm if she's here before we start. Okay, so I hope that she's here. So we started looking at objects, JavaScript objects. Uh, let's see how we can actually complete this aspect of JavaScript in this section before we start looking at how to build some apps, and then before finally we see how we can leverage on JavaScript framework called Bootstrap before we start looking at the back end aspects of our program. All right, so let me switch to the working environment just to check what we did in that section. But I'm not very sure if this was the laptop I actually used.
We stopped at on shift.
On shift, so we started looking at JavaScript arrays, and I told us that arrays are what? Array is part of JavaScript advanced data type, and by definition, we define array as a special type of object used to store multiple values in an ordered list. That was how we defined the array. That was how we defined array. So I'm not sure this is not the development environment. Let me see if I can. What is that your own? It should be this Tuesday and Thursday web. Let me check this. Okay, I think that is the one I am now. Let me check this one. No file here. Okay. Let me just quickly make a file. Let's say JS advance .html. HTML5. Okay, so HTML5. So let's create our external JavaScript because we're working with external. So create another file. Let's say array.js. Then of course, remember we have to connect the two files using scripts with source attributes. slash, and then reference the name of the file. Expected it to have shown. Okay. All right. So like I was saying, we are still talking about JavaScript advanced data type. So after concluding on the basic data type, we started looking at advanced data type, and I highlighted the importance of us understanding these data types. Right, so generally we define them as set of data type in JavaScript that helps us to hold multiple values. The only difference is that they all have different syntax and some functions that can be used to manipulate them. So under that, we look at some array method. I think that's was where the assignment was given. We looked at array method. And generally, I defined array method as set of functions which are already built in JavaScript to allow a JavaScript programmer to manipulate the values of an array. So after explaining an array as a special type of objects used to store multiple values in an order list, right? So which means that is an extraction of objects. That was why we first of all look at JavaScript objects. And we look at how to create an array. That is the syntax for creating arrays. So let me just take it from array, and then from there we move to function. We are supposed to look at functions today. So syntax for declaring array. I told us that we have to initiate it with a variable keyword. I hope we still remember the variable keywords. We have the let, we have the var, we have the cost. So, which means that you are creating an array and you are acknowledging it as a variable that is going to hold multiple value. So that is why I'm starting it like this. Let's say array of fruits. Let fruit equals to, and I also pointed out something while I was explaining objects and array, that we should always take note of the kind of brackets we are using to initiate or declare this data type. That for array, we use a square bracket, while for objects, we use a curly brace bracket. So we should take note of that. And I said we are also maintaining the rules of storing values in variable, where we were taught that whenever you are storing string in a variable, they are to be in the quotation. So that same principle we are following here. So I can say this is the first array elements. So whatever you are creating inside the square bracket becomes your array elements. All right, so these elements are what ask us to go and discover those methods to manipulate after showing us about 5 to 6 of them. So let's say I want to also have mango as part of the array element, and then I also want to have orange. I also want to have orange as another element. And then I told us that after you have declared your array, how do you print it out? How do you display the value of the array? How do you display the value of the array? Right? So in this case, we also talk about using the indexing logic where you can actually, instead of displaying the entire array values, you can decide to just call out one. So now here, acknowledging a JavaScript output method become important since we are talking about outputting our results. So like I said, we are using one of the most used JavaScript output method, which is called the inner HTML, the one that helps us to display JavaScript directly on HTML elements. So, and for us to do that, I said we have to go to our HTML file and create an element with an ID. So the essence of this is just to output. So this is just like to render. This is just like a carrier. All right. So I can just name it a demo. I can just name it demo. And remember that we are not passing any content here because the content is coming from JavaScript. So now, so long you have connected the two files, all you need to do in the HTML file is just to specify the element that will be used to render the array that you have created here. So based on that, since I've created my HTML element with an ID demo, so I can come here and say document dot get elements by ID, and then the ID, remember that is demo, and the ID is a string, so we need to acknowledge it in a string as well. And then what this will do is to simply go to the HTML file and grab the whole of that element with that content and store it in .inner and store it here. And then from here, we are now giving it the content. Remember that we left it empty here. We left it empty here. So at this point, we have only grabbed it and we are storing it here. And then from here, we are passing in the fruit. We are passing in the fruits as what we want it to output for us. So I can just say fruits. All right. And then I will end the line of my code with semicolon as our culture. Right. So with this, if I output, I should be getting all the array value outputted on my browser. And remember that to output on your browser, you cannot output from the JavaScript file. You have to go back to the HTML file and then right click there and use your probably the extension you have installed. But in my own case, I'm using live server. So let me click so that we can see the front end. So after this, I will just show us one more example and then we'll move on to the next topic. So what I'm doing right now is just like a revision. So let's just wait to see the front end and then before we perform one more task and then we'll move on to the next topic. I hope everything is clear. So you can see that we have successfully outputted all the value. So somebody is raising up hand. You have question?
Yes, sir.
Okay,
So that example, that class assignment you gave us, the thing is not working.
What is not working?
I'm using this method that you taught us, but the thing is not working for the other ones. All these length, include, join, slice, splice, and so on. I'm trying to use it, but the thing is not working. It's as if I'm putting the wrong code.
So are you saying that none of those ones that you research on works? Even one did
It
not
didn't
work.
work.
Even one did not work.
No,
And
what we can ChatGPT to search for the assignment. He was using console.log to output it,
And
and
then
you are
you change it now.
using
You change
a
it now, madam. See, where you have console.log, you replace it with document.getElement. That is all. ChatGPT assume that you are debugging. And sometimes ChatGPT will give priority to console.log. For example, now, if I want to use console.log, all I need is just to look at it here. If I want to use console.log, there's no big deal there. Let me just temporarily comment this out and use console.log to output this array element. So what I'm going to say is just the console.log, then console.log, and then the next thing I'll pass in the what? The fruit. That is all. Now, the only thing is that whenever you are using console.log, bear it in mind that it's not going to display in the browser body. All right, you are not going to find it here. You will have to right click and then go to inspect. And then when you get to inspect, you will now go to console. You go to this console, and then you see that what is telling you that you have array of 3 elements. So if you expand it, you see them. And it's even telling you the length, that there are 3. I don't know if you are getting me.
Okay.
So why I decided, I told us from beginning that out of all this method, only 2 that are going to be used when you start handling projects. Even when I was defining them, I said document.write is only good for debugging. Console.log is also only good for what? Debugging. And what is debugging? When you are writing code, just like what I did now. Let's assume that this method is not working and I want to know where the fault is coming from. So that is where I will just use console.log, or I will use another one to verify it. I don't know if you are getting me, ma.
Okay, ma. Okay, sir.
Okay. I'm supposed to even talk about the birthday. I don't know how I forgot to. Anyway, I will still talk about it toward the end. Don't think that you have escaped. So right now, so I believe with that illustration, you have seen how to display with various methods. Now, let's do one more thing before we go into the new topic, which is JavaScript function. Now, let's assume you can see that when you pass in, I still want to verify if Mrs. Oikos is here. Please, if you are here, let's hear from you. So you can see that we printed out everything in the array. We printed out everything in the array. All right. Now, let's assume that we want to access only one of the value. Let's say Apple. So this is where we bring in the indexing logic that we talk about. That when array of items are in a bucket, in programming generally, because this is not only applicable to JavaScript, in programming generally, they all have index number. In other words, a value that represents their position. And we were told that the very first one is at index 0. The very first one is at index 0, while the next one is at index 1. And I told us the logic that, like, the second one uses the number of the first one to count itself. So if you want to count the first one, you use 0 to count it. That is why the Apple is at 0. So if I want to output it, I want to output only Apple, what I'm going to do is to introduce a square bracket here and then pass in the index value, let's say 0. So if I print now, it's going to print only the value at that index. So if I go back, you see that what I'm able to access only Apple. So with that said, let's quickly go to the next one. And then after this, we now looked at array method, which formed the question you just asked. So you can go and watch the last video to understand what we meant by array method. So the next one we want to look at we want to look at another advanced data type, another advanced data type, another advanced data type, right? So let's look at which one should we look at now? I think we should be looking at function, right? I think so. We should be looking at function. All right, so let's look at JavaScript word function. JavaScript function. So how do we define function? A function in JavaScript is a callable. Let me see if I can try and write fast. A function in JS is a callable. A callable object that we break it so that we can see the whole of it. That can be stored in a variable. That can be stored in a variable, comma, pass an argument, command, and we break it, and return from other functions. So this is a simple definition of what? Function. So let's look at some of the keywords that are mentioned in that function that we need to understand, because until we understand them, then it will become a bit difficult for us to decode. So number one, we say that a function is callable. That is, whenever a function is declared, you must call it before it reacts. That is what we are saying. And you can repeat, you can reuse function. So these are some of the importance of programming with function. So for example, if I create a function somewhere within my app development that should do something, even when I have gone past that particular place, I can call that function in that new position I am, and the function will respond. And the function can take in arguments. Argument here means input. So as we continue to understand, let's look at the simple example of a function. So let's say I want to create a function that return my name. A function that return my name. The word return means what? The outcome. So anytime I use the word return, I'm talking about what? The outcome. What it return. All right? So let's look at a simple example. Let's say the task is that create a JS function. Create JS function that return my name to be Aguero. To be Aguero. So now we need to understand the syntax of declaring function. There are three things about function that we need to understand. One, we need to know that a function has keyword. So let me just put it this way, since we are writing function what? Syntax function, I would have said function declaration syntax. function declaration syntax. So from here, I can say that the first one is that anytime you are writing a function, you must declare the keyword. So we have the keyword. These are what forms your function. Then we have the name or the naming section. We have the naming. And then, of course, we have the code block. We have the code block. So you need to understand this. We have the keyword, we have the name, and then we have the code block. So just to explain the syntax with the example, like a task we are given. So I'm going to say function. So this is a keyword. In other words, it's a constant. You must start writing function by observing function as a keyword, followed by the name. The name can be anything, but it shouldn't be a use keyword. You cannot use let's as the name of your function. So I can say, since it's about greeting me, so I can say, okay, the name of my function is greet. Then you need to create the parenthesis bracket to show that is a function. And then after it, then you insert the calling brace. Now, whatever you have inside, let me explain it. This is the keyword. This is the name of the function. Whatever that comes in here is the parameter or the argument that I mentioned. So a function can have empty argument, and then there can also be a function with what? Argument. So like this very one is a function with argument, which means that I am supplying my name. Now, this name that you added here is just like you created an empty variable that will receive its value, once you are calling the function. All right. So now inside this is your code block. So what's the code? What the function we do. That is what you have to put in the calling bracket. That is why we call it the code block. So that is just like the section that is grouping the function, because one of the attribute of function across programming languages is that it is used to group scripts. So just like things that you will have written individually, you wrap them in what? Function. So function is used to group your code such that anytime you need what those set of code are created for, you just call the name and then everything inside it will be called, just like we want to do now. So I will now use the return keyword. This return keyword is just like the output method that we have been learning, like console.log and the rest. So it's used to output. Now, what is it going to output? It's going to output a string. Now, it's going to add a string to my name. That is what? Greeting. Hello, Prosper. Now, remember that Prosper will have been stored here. So once you type your hello, you will now invoke the Prosper from the argument standing as an empty variable at this moment. So now I will now come here and concatenate. Concatenation means you are joining two things. Now, in other words, I want the function to output hello, which I've already captured in my string, and then add the name that will be given, that will be stored in name. So I'll use dot. Then that name, you are not to quote it because it's not a string. It is a keyword at the moment, and then you end your code. Now, you have to display. These have never substituted your display method. So this is just like you are saying that what? Return name, but we don't know the name yet. So you now come outside the declaration block. So at this point here, you are calling, because we say function is a callable object. So this is where you are calling the function. This is where you are calling the function. The function should always be called outside the declaration block. I hope somebody is following. Let me get a response.
Yes, sir.
So the function should always be called outside. Don't write this calling the function method inside the calling bracket. So, and how do you call a function? You simply call the name like this. The name of the function is what you call. So the name of the function is greet. So once I call greet, and then if it is a function without an argument, then you don't put anything inside. But in this case, this function is a function with an argument, which means that you have to supply the input. The moment you have a function with an argument, at the level of calling it, you have to give the input. What it means is that, let me try and illustrate it for better understanding. You created this as an empty, hoping that when you are calling it, you will now send the name. So what you are doing right now is that you are sending the name to this variable. That's why I said that time that you should recognize this as a variable, but it is called argument. So right now, you did not say equals to and store the name. You just say name. Then while you are calling it, you are now sending the name to it. And then once it receives the name, then this return will capture it here, and then the function name will now what? Will capture it here and send it back here for output. So now if I continue now, let me clear this. Now it means that this function can be used to print multiple names because you did not set any specific name. You simply said whenever they are calling you, whatever name that is given, that is what you are put. So that name that you want to give is a string. If the argument is a number, you don't quote it. If it is a string, you quote it. So the name I am sending to that name is Prosper. And then I will also end my code like this. So let's go to the front end and see what the output will look like. So now you can see that we are not getting any output. Why? Because we have not displayed it with any output. We just simply called the name, all right? So because, why? If I remove this, now we have to come here and say, let me cut this first, Control X, and then if I come here, I will use document. Look at it now. I will use document. Let me use the console.log first so that you can. Console.log. I use console.log, and then inside it, I will now paste that function inside it, then before I end it. So why I did that, so that I can get the output. So if I come here and I refresh, I'm supposed to I'm getting the value, but remember, because we are using console.log, which only display in the development environment, so we have to right click and go to what? Inspect, and then from inspect, we go to the console section. You can see that what we get, what? Hello Prosper. So like the challenge we have now, let's assume that I don't want to use document console.log. So what I'm going to do is to, I can use any other one, but if you still want to use, because why I really want us to be familiar with this inner HTML, because when we start applying JavaScript directly in our website, it is this one that we'll be using most. So I don't want to familiarize us with the one that I will not be using when we start applying. That's why it's as if I'm using more of document get elements so that we can get used to it. Mrs. Oiko say, I've not still heard from you. Please, I want to find out if you are here. So now I want to comment this out and write it using the HTML element to display that value. So I can say document dot. So you understand how to write them if you want to choose. If you are choosing a different output method, then remember the demo is the ID demo2. The demo2, let me confirm again. Yeah, demo2. So demo2, then we have to store it in the HTML property right in JavaScript here. And then what are we passing? Now, we will just pass this. This is only what you are going to supply this time around. This is what you take. So I am passing what? This. All right. I hope that is clear. So if I remove this now, let me comment this out temporarily. So if I go to the front end, I should be able to see it. You can see that right now is displaying on the browser what body instead of the development environment. Hope it's clear, Flourish.
Yes.
Okay, so I want to give us few minutes to replicate what I've done. So you have to write this function and then execute it. I don't know if you are joining with your laptop.
I'm not joining, but I just on it now. Let
Okay.
me use it first.
So since you just on it, I know it's going to take time. I think let me just add more so that once the laptop is ready, you let me know so that I can allow you to run some of this code so it doesn't get too complex. All right, so let's quickly look at the next, let's create, let's say we want to create, okay, so because of, just for you, so just go and make more research because we will still be using function. The next class, what I want to do is for us to start building some apps fully with JavaScript. Because I don't want to just take us straight to Bootstrap where some code will have been written for us. So I want us to have the knowledge. If somebody decide to say you want to do everything with JavaScript without, as in the pure language, without consulting the library, which is Bootstrap, is allowed. The only thing is that you write a lot of codes. But what we do most time is that we just learn the basic and the intermediate and then leverage on Bootstrap to implement some of these complex functions. But when you do not, learn how to create even simple functions, then even in Bootstrap, everything will look a kind of abstract because you may not really know what Bootstrap will be doing at the background. So all this that you are learning is for you, even though you are going to rely on Bootstrap when you start handling real projects, at least you know what is going on to an extent. All right, so let's quickly look at another advanced data type. I think I will just, this will be the last data type, the last advanced data type. So we still have some that I will just call their name. You can go and practically research, but I'm just focusing on the ones that we need for real projects. There are some of them that we don't have anything to do with, but for learning purpose, you can go and scratch the surface to understand what they represent. So let me just look at this one, which is sets. So set is a data type. It falls under the advanced data type in JavaScript. Set. So how do we define set? A set is a collection of unique. So we can say a collection of what? Unique values. A set is a collection of unique values. So which means that no duplicates. Which means no duplicates allowed. All right. So we are going to particularize it so that you know what we're talking about. You know, in array, you can duplicate. I can call apple twice and nothing will happen. But once it is set, you cannot duplicate. So in programming, there are scenarios where you will be forced to use set just because you are trying to make sure that everything is unique. Someone's name cannot be entered in a database twice. Someone cannot register 2 times. So when there are all these kind of constraints, then you'll be forced to use what? Set as another data type. So let's quickly look at the syntax. Let's look at the syntax for declaring what? Set. The syntax is that just like the way we declare our array. So I'm going to say let, in other words, I'm acknowledging it as a variable. I'm going to say let numbers, I want to work with number this time around. Let number, so I'm creating objects by using that word new and then set. Now, we need to also take note of the set bracket. The set bracket is this. Sorry, the set bracket is what? This. That's the set bracket. That's square bracket, sorry, parenthesis bracket. Now, because you want to capture multiple values, then you have to select them with what? The square bracket inside. And then you can now start declaring. So if the values are string, you put them in quotes. If they are not string, they are number, you just simply type them. For example, I want set of 2, 3, 4, like this. And then I have to also what? End it. No duplicate. They are all unique value. All right. So if I want to display this value using console.log first, since we are having issue with this, let me be using both of them. Console.log number. So console.log numbers, and then I also end it. Now, if I go to the browser, I should right click, then go to inspect. And then from inspect, I should be able to see inspect, go to console section. You get what? A message set is not defined. Set is not defined. So what is the error? You know, remember I told us some time ago that the benefit of using the benefit of using console.log is for code debugging. Now, you know, if you have error, like here now, look at it here. There is an error, but there is no sign. There is no sign that will tell you that, oh, this is where the error is. These are actually when you are to consult what? Console.log. So I can come here now and say, okay, let me use console.log, because console.log will always point out the error, will always describe the error. So I come here and then I'll say, what is the error? So the error is what? Uncaught reference. So if I click, let's say I want to, that one is array. So you can see that the moment I click to expand it, I will now see where the error is. Look at where the error is. So now the error is within this place, that this syntax is not correct. And what is the error here? The S here is supposed to be capital letter. So if I come here now, for example, and I change the S to capital letter here, you see that what? The error disappeared. Sorry, I think I added something else. But
So how did you know that it is supposed to be capital letter? They didn't mention it.
Yeah, they didn't mention it, but from experience, I know that this is a keyword that should start with, because you are using constructor. Once you see this new, it means that you are constructing. You understand? So which means that the first letter, even this array that you created here, like this array, where is the array safe? I thought we used to have the array here. Have I deleted it?
Array is up.
Okay, good. I wonder why it's not. Okay. So the array that we use, this array that we use square bracket now, I can use his own constructs, that is his own inbuilt function. Then the bracket will now be parentheses. You will now set it like this. So let's go to the front end and see if we have corrected that. So just to know whether that is actually the error. So we now check, you see that what? If I open this, I have the value. So that was the error. The error was the capital letter. Mr. Collins, welcome. I hope you can hear us. So you join late. Mrs. Oikosi, I'm here to find out if you're actually in the house. So you can see, so I believe your laptop should be up now, Flourish. If your laptop is up now, then I'll give us some time to apply what we have learned so far. So we started looking at, we continue from where we stopped last time. We started looking at advanced data type. So the only one that I did not recapture was object. So object should be in the previous video. So go and watch the previous video to understand JavaScript object. And then we started with refreshing us on the array again, and then what we have added today now is this that should be function and sets as part of advanced data type. Flourish, I wanted to find out if your laptop is ready to implement what we have learned so far before I proceed. Can Flourish hear me?
Let me on my data.
I will now wait for you to on data again after waiting for you to on laptop. Flourish.
No, I was doing the classwork. I forgot that I was supposed to share.
Okay. So every other person should do the same.
Are you sharing first? Are you sharing first or I should share?
Oh yeah, anybody should share. Let's share so that we can round up. Okay.
Sir.
Yes.
This first one.
Okay.
When I typed it using this inner.html, the thing is not showing. So I had to go and comment every other thing I have. It's not showing. Then I had to use console.log. The thing was showing. But when I used it again, that HTML, inner HTML, the thing was not showing again. Then I just had to move on and do this set classwork also. The thing is also showing with console.log. So I don't know why it's not showing using the inner HTML.
Let's please, can you uncomment that section? Let's take it again. Then comment all the places you use console.log just for us to rectify it before we.
Okay. I've done it, sir.
Okay, so now let's look at, can we see your HTML file? Let's see whether you actually have an ID demo4. Where can you switch to your HTML file, please?
Okay.
Switch to your HTML file. Where did you create? Where is the ID? I'm looking for the ID. That ID demo4. Where is the ID in HTML? In HTML. I'll flog you with K now.
It's demo.
Mm-hmm.
It's demo.
But I've not really seen it now. Let me see the HTML file.
Now look at it. It's here. It's here. I was
Okay.
not making it. It's not demo. It's demo.
So let's go to Mrs. Iko's system. I'll also check.
Okay, let me
If she
stop
will say something.
sharing. Let me stop. Thank you, sir.
You know about your birthday what's it called? Cake now. I know. It's not easy.
Hello, sir.
Okay. So where exactly are you? I know you were not actually with us when we started, but let's see what you have done. Okay, you
I
create.
put one, but I don't know whether the link is not okay. Maybe you first cross check that one.
Well, let's go to the HTML and check first. Let's check it from the HTML. Please, can you switch to your HTML? Okay. ID is demo. Okay, so let's go back to your JavaScript. Let's go back to your JavaScript.
I'm there now.
Okay, maybe my network is behind. Okay, I'm yet to get there. Okay, I'm there now. Okay. So you are using console.log to display. Now, if you are using console.log, now go to the browser. Go to the browser. Let's see the output of console.log. Go to the browser. Let's see the output of console.log. Now, good. You have to expect. Then click on console. There's an option there, console. Have you selected it? Okay, and we are getting an error. Can you click on where you have that array or something? Click on it. Let's expand it so that we can see the error description. Click on where you have that around something. Where you say face to load resource, server, whatever. Click on it, expand it. Let's see what the errors are. I don't know if you can really understand. Not there or not there. That is not the place I want you to click.
Here.
Go back to the console. Yes, that's hypertext. That one that have the first line, the text be good. Oh yeah, click on that place. Okay, that is what you expanded. Go back to the code. Go back to the code. Let's see. I think I really want to know what's the issue.
Okay. Yeah.
I'm just wondering, let fruits. Hope your spelling is the one you are putting in the. That is it. Now, have you connected the HTML file with the JavaScript file? Are you sure both of them are linked? Please confirm that. Are you sure? Are you sure the both files are connected?
That is where I'm suspecting.
Where is
So
it?
when I'm trying to connect it, I type this thing one by one.
No, but even at that, what's the name of that JavaScript file? Is it array? Check the spelling. It's array.js, have you? It's array.js. That equals to that is after HTML. Okay, that one shouldn't be an issue anyway. I just want to know if the name correspond. Yes, array.js. Okay, so now let's go back to JavaScript. I just want to know. I hope your audio is not from browser because the browser can as well be an issue sometime. console.log fruit. You are correct now. I don't think there's any error here. You are actually correct. So what you do is maybe you restart. By the time you restart the system, it will work. But why don't we use, okay, comment that console.log out. Let's use another method to output it first, so I will know. Comment the whole of that line, then bring back the other one that you commented out. Let it come alive. The last one, the last line. No, leave that one. That is what you want to. The last line, bring it back. Good, uncomment it. Now, which means that from fruit, you want to print out apple. Now, let's go to your HTML. You have an ID called demo, right? So I will not make mistake.
Yes, sir.
Where is it? ID called demo. Okay. Now, let's go. Open it here, right click and open it. Sometimes you have to re-render when it's not outputting. You have to re-render. You have to re-render. Sometimes there can be error. And sometimes it could be your browser. So when you restart, so refresh. Let me see. Click on that refresh icon.
Nothing is showing.
Go back to the code. I think go back to the code. Let's try something. I want to check something. I don't think it's your fault. It's the system. But when you restart it, will go. Now go back to JavaScript. Let's look at it. Go back to JavaScript. Now remove that 0. Remove that square 0. That's that square bracket 0. Just print only fruit. Let's see. Just print only fruit. Can you hear me? Good. No, go back there.
Yes, I'm doing it.
Go back there. Go back there. Let me see. There's something I want to verify. Okay. So this will have outputted apple, mango, and orange. So the fault is not from your browser. So when you restart,
let that change to Edge.
So your browser. So if you can change to another browser, it will work. Your code is correct. There's nothing wrong with your code. So but when you restart, or maybe you change to another one. So I think just stop sharing. Let me just conclude so that we can. Let me just conclude what I have for us. Just to end this so that we know that the next class will start. The next class is going to be a project. We come up with a JavaScript application. We'll build an app, like an e-commerce app that somebody can use to purchase or to select item, to know the price of item. We have different apps we are going to build, but we just focus on some of them that are very important. Where is what I wanted to show us? So it does not. So let's look at dates. This is going to be the last one. Date. So we have dates just like as the next data type. So dates, the date object is used to work with date and time. Because of time, you can just take it from indentation. The date object is used to work with date and time. So for example, if I want to print today date, so we can say let today equals to, so I will construct it by using the new object. And then remember, once you are using new, the first letter must be a capital letter. And then this is the date function. This is the date function. And then you end it. Now, let me print it with console.log to make it fast. .log. And then I am printing what? Today. I'll print it today. And then, of course, I end my code. So let me go to the front end to check. Now remember that we displayed it in console.log, which means we have to right click and select inspect. And then from there, we should be able to see, once I go to this section, I will see today dates. Where is it here? Tuesday. That's what we're supposed to have there. Okay, so no issue. Okay, today is what? Tuesday what? March 2026, West Africa what? Standard. So that is what it is. Now let's use another method to print it so that we can see how it's going to present it. So if I want to use, because of time, let me just use document, which is another method for just for debugging. Document.write, and then let me just use this, and then we are printing today as well, and then we end it. So let's quickly check. Let's go to the front end. You see that you printed what today. So you can see as powerful just that function that you created. Because when you start developing some app, there are some app that in between you are going to be using this date and time function.
Okay,
I hope it's clear.
So if you want to use this date stuff, you are going to use document.write, not inner HTML.
No, you can use inner HTML now. Just that because of I don't want to go to HTML and start creating ID. You understand?
Okay.
You can use anyone to display it. You can use anyone to display it. Let me quickly do it. Let me see. Just that my laptop battery is almost, so if I did not finish before it's off, then you go and you finish the remaining one. So let's say demo 3. So I want to use the inner HTML that you just spoke about now to display it. So I'm going to say so document dot get elements by ID. And what is the ID? Demo 3. Then store it in inner HTML property, and then just say equals to today. So if I go back to the front end, you get the same thing. I hope it's clear now.
Yes, sir.
All right, so we stop here. Go and do more research on functions, advanced data type, practice as much as possible. Then because we have come to the end of both basic data type and advanced data type. So the next class will be project-based. So we'll now be picking projects. So, okay, in our website, we want to create an app that does this and that. And then after some few apps, we will now look at Bootstrap. After Bootstrap, we can now start developing the back end. Okay, so there's no question. So
Can I see the front? Can I see the front?
The what?
The front.
Yeah.
Let me copy the. Yes.
Okay. Are you through? So I can.
Yes.
All right. So have a blessed day.
Okay, thank you, sir.